Most salespeople start selling long before they've earned the right to start selling. In other words, they've got the cart before the horse. Well, what they don't understand is the first sale you actually have to make is to be credible. You have to sell the prospect on your credibility as a source of value. Well, in this week's Sales and Training episode, I'm joined by my friend Chris Cummins, who has mastered the art of credibility. Let's take a look at some ideas, some tactics that he uses to make himself more credible as a salesperson. This is Sales Untraining, a very different kind of sales podcast. 3 out of 4 salespeople are failing. They're falling short of their revenue. Why doesn't sales training work? That's what this sales podcast is about. It's your weekly sales strategy guide designed to rewire your sales brain. Welcome to Sales and Training. I'm Kelly Riggs. Great to have you alongside. It is your weekly sales strategy guide designed to completely rewire your sales brain. Well, at least your sales training brain, as we talk about what in the world is wrong with sales training and why does it lead predictably to such terrible results in the field. But today, my guest, Chris Cummins, a very dear friend of mine, and I don't think I'm really embellishing too much, Chris, when I say one of the best keynote speakers I have ever seen. You really bring the house down. But at the same time, you're a sales guy too. So we're going to talk sales. We're going to talk building credibility and those kinds of things. Welcome to the show. Great to have you.
Kelly Riggs, thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this conversation.
Well, you and I both have really impacted each other, I think, influenced each other. We've had a lot of deep conversations, and one of those conversations led us to today. And what we want to talk about is credibility. One of the things that just drives me nuts is that if you ask salespeople, do relationships matter in the world of selling? Everybody raises their hand and says, oh, yes, absolutely, relationships. The problem is they think relationship is when I know your kid's first name and where your favorite sports team and where you like to go hunt deer. Therefore, we have this wonderful relationship, and now I'm going to get all kinds of business as a result. And I've talked about it a lot and actually done a couple of podcast episodes. But in our conversation, we talked about this journey you go on with a new prospect, somebody you've never talked to, where the first thing you have to do is to begin to develop credibility with them so that they begin to be interested. And I believe that credibility is the first sale that you make with a potential customer. But here's what's interesting. When you're speaking to an audience as a keynote speaker, you're doing very much the same thing, aren't you? I mean, don't you have to first create some interest, create some credibility as you begin to build the narrative? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I would say that the parallels are amazing, right? And if you're selling a product or a service, or if you're on the stage giving a keynote, either way, your audience, if it's the audience is your customer or if the audience is my keynote audience, they're asking themselves, much like your listeners on this podcast right now, they're asking themselves, is this person worth listening to?
Right.
Is this a person that I could benefit from? Do they know what they're talking about? Are they credible? Is this worth my time? Right?
Yes.
And so I would suggest that all humans, we're running a filter all the time of, is this a good use of my time? Is this person to be trusted? Do they have similar values? Will this help me or hinder me? So everyone's running these filters. And I would suggest that when I'm creating credibility with the audience, that I have to get through that filter and help them to see, this guy gets me. Okay, I'm willing to listen now. How is that? I would say that's no different than when we're in sales and someone says, oh, I'm going to listen to this person now. I've decided that this person just might be able to help me, or this product, this service might be able to help me. I'm willing to listen now. So they've turned off their filters a little bit. That's the same for whether it's a keynote or a product or service.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And the interesting thing is you have a very specific methodology for developing that credibility. In my mind, absolutely the same thing I would teach and train any salesperson is if you want people to be interested in you, first you have to get interested in them. You have to do your homework and you have to demonstrate that you have an understanding of what they do and how they do and so forth. And when you are selling yourself as a keynote speaker, you go through that process and then you actually use it inside of your keynote. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, as a career sales guy, I learned a long time ago that it's probably a good idea to understand your client's world. It's a good idea to understand their needs, their hopes, their dreams, what they're trying to achieve, to truly understand them. And 1.0 salesperson Chris would say, hey, I have this thing. Would you like it? That's 1.0, right? If you get to like 2.0 or master's degree or PhD selling, most of your time is spent asking questions and probing to deeply understand their needs, right? And then, and only if I see that my solution will help them meet their needs, then I'm willing to present that solution. So I have found that I can call someone can call me and say, hey, we're thinking about a keynote. And 1.0 Chris would say, definitely put me on your stage. I can for sure help you. But a more advanced salesperson, Chris, says, well, I don't know I don't know, maybe. I have some questions for you first. Let me better understand your environment. So I want to understand what the person looking for a keynote, I want to understand what they're looking for the audience to be thinking, how they want them feeling. If they were to turn to someone beside them and say something, what's a phrase they'd like them to start saying? And what's a call to action at the end? So that when I'm finished with that audience, what do you want them thinking, feeling, saying, and doing? And then I'll create an experience that will do that. Kelly, I can't create that experience if I don't understand anything about the client.
Right.
Because I'll get on the stage and I'll say, I know everything about your business. No, you don't. No, you don't. Who's this guy? Arms crossed. What is this? What is this guy? He's wearing a jacket. We don't even wear jackets here. He doesn't understand how it works in our organization. We have very unique needs and our clients are unique. So I've learned that the more I can learn about their environment, the better.
So contrast with the opposite approach. Listen, I've done a ton of research and I can tell you everything there is to know about you. I know what's important to you. I know what you need. And I have, in fact, I've done my homework. I know exactly what you need. And if you'll sit down here, I'll show you how my widget is going to help you give you what you need.
Yeah. And before I start my presentation, why don't you get off your wallet, Mr. Client? Because I'm going to be taking your money in a moment. That's, yeah, I know all of your needs, but humans, we don't think that way, right? We think, no, I have super duper unique needs. My clients are different. My audience is different. My organization is different. That won't work in my territory. So we have to come into their world. And I can't say I've done my research. Trust me, honest, I know what I'm saying. I can't do that because they don't believe it.
Right.
But in a keynote environment, I had a standing ovation in the first 5 minutes of a keynote.
That's disgusting.
Because I stood up there and I yelled at them. So I went to the VP sales who hired me for this keynote at their annual sales conference. And I said, listen, I know we trust one another. You know where I'm going to land this. I'd like to push some buttons a little bit and I'm going to cause some discomfort in the room, but trust me, I'm going to land it. Oh yeah, no problem. So the VP sales wanted everyone, logging into the CRM more and doing certain activities and had to have a certain number of calls booked, normal sales stuff.
Right.
So I stood up there and I told them all of the reasons why what the VP sales is demanding is nuts. And no one in this room can do it. And they're like, that's what we're thinking. Exactly I told him. And so because I've done my research, Kelly, I interview, 9 to 12 people on their team. I interview a happy customer and an upset customer. I interview, really high performing salespeople and people who are struggling and some middle of the road folks. I interview tons of people at the organization. So I'm on that stage telling them granular examples of their real life. Well, you can't possibly do 5 somethings in a week because this reason. And they're like, exactly, I've used that reason as well. And you can't do this because of this reason. Buddy, you are speaking my language. I've used that reason as well. That is a legitimate reason. So I'm just decimating this VP sales demands.
Right.
And so the whole audience is like, oh, you get us. You understand our world. By the end of that, it was a 2-hour engagement. By the end of the 2-hour engagement, every single person there had realized, I can totally do this. What they're asking for is possible, and Chris just gave me the handrails to do it. But here's the thing, Kelly. I couldn't have done any of that if I hadn't demonstrated I know them.
That's good stuff. That's good
stuff. They're not willing to listen.
Right. And again, I think that's exactly what salespeople should do, and we tell them to do it. You need to do your homework. And we say, listen, there's enormous amounts of information available to you and all these things. So they'll jump. Well, you see it a lot now in the automated AI-generated nonsense. I get these every day. I'm sure you do as well. Kelly, notice that you've done a great job with Business Locker Room teaching salespeople how to be more effective. Love your work. Love what you're doing. And if you'd like to get more leads, we can help you with that with our super duper AI generated lead projection system or whatever, right? That's the level of preparation that most people are doing. You're talking about doing something far more substantial than that. Well, hey, stay with me because we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Chris is going to continue to light up the screen with more techniques, more tactics, and more ideas about how you build credibility. Stay with me. Hey, thanks for making Sales Untraining your first listen of the week. And if you find something you like, if you hear something that's interesting, I hope you'll share it with somebody you know. You can find out more about me at bizlockerroom.com or email me, kelly@bizlockerroom.com. Now back to the show. Welcome back, Sales Untraining. I'm Kelly Riggs, and my guest, Chris Cummins. You can find him everywhere. Some of those places listed here on the screen below. Make sure you check him out. Chris Cummins. He is a phenomenal speaker and a phenomenal sales guy as well. Very dear friend of mine, and glad to have him on board as we talk about building credibility, which in my mind, Chris, is the most important thing you do as you're getting acquainted, as you're moving through that sales process. But you talked about interviewing people and using the results of that interview. I got to believe you only do that after they've hired you to be the speaker. How do you get them to buy into that, to say, this is the guy we want to use?
That's a longer question. So if I'm looking at the selling of the keynote, someone has usually reached out to me, or there's a reason why we're meeting, right? We have a meeting coming up in 3 days, let's say. I'm going to devour your LinkedIn. I'm going to go to your socials. I'm going to go to some of the marketing stuff from your company. I'm going to learn about your products. I'm also going to learn about some of your competitors. I want to know what your innovations are. I want to know what their answers to your innovations are, so that I've just got a cheat sheet of notes for our sales conversation. That's what I learned years ago in sales. Just like, have lots of stuff to talk about that's relevant to them. You're not talking about the weather. You're like, hey, I noticed ABC launched this. Now, I know your tier twos one, they do that, but what's your response to this? Oh, wow, you really get our industry. So I'm doing tons of research. Now, if I tell you I did my research, you might believe me. But if I show you I did my research, it's a whole other game. It's not even fair anymore, right? So leading up to that sales conversation, I will send a video email where I will show them, hey, I found you on LinkedIn, so I'd love to see if we can connect there. I also noticed that a couple of your YouTube videos and your products, and then I switch over on my computers to, one of their YouTube videos or one of their brochures, and then I switch back to me in a 65-second video. I've just differentiated myself from everybody else.
Dramatically.
And Kelly, I've learned this a long time ago. If they have to then go sell the idea to someone else, well, why wouldn't I use technology to our advantage so that I can sell me to that next person? So a video email is just so powerful. So to answer your question, I I do a ton of research, and then I craft some like before sale videos that I send to the client that are clearly just for them. It's like a voicemail times 1,000. Then on the sales call, my intention is to get them what they want. Now, the question is, well, what do they want? Well, we're looking for a sales team who's inspired, or you've taught them something, or they believe that our products are quality. Perhaps that's what you're looking for. But if we peel it back, Kelly, on a very human level, what are we all looking for? We're looking for safety in our job. We're looking for Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We want some food and some shelter and some friendships and, self-actualization. So if someone is hiring a keynoter, are they hiring that keynoter because they want the team to perform? Probably, yes. They're also, like, a solution they're not going to broadcast is that they want to be safe in their job. They want to be recognized for their work. Like, there's some human needs that can be met.
Yeah, I made a good decision with this guy.
Yeah. And my credibility is increased in the eyes of my CEO, not decreased in the eyes of my CEO or my peers for that matter, right? So there's a lot on the line if you're going to choose a keynote speaker. If they're unproven, this is terrifying. I may lose my job. Someone will get fired, right? If you put someone in front of 1,000 people and it cost you 3 days worth of their productivity and you flew them all in. So I noticed that if I can make eye contact with the client in that last 3 minutes of a keynote and I can see on their face, they just say, oh, you've nailed it. I want to create that feeling for you, Miss Client, or for you, Mr. Client.
You describe your process, right? When you're differentiating yourself to them and you're talking, they've already seen the video, they've seen you, you've built some credibility that no one else is doing, virtually no one else, I would believe. But then it doesn't quit there, because you start describing that process of, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to get to know you better through several key interviews, and I'm going to take all that and bring it into the keynote. Am I getting that correct?
You spot on. So my intention, Miss Client or Mr. Client, is to interview your folks. I'm then going to circle back to you. I'm going to say, here's what I've discovered. And it's often easier for them to speak truth to me than it is for them to speak truth to power, because I'm a safe third party. So I tell them, listen, I'm not going to report back to your boss on everything you tell me. My intention is to make your life easier and to help the organization. So if I can speak truth to power, this is a great opportunity for you to get real with me and see how I can help you. Kelly, we booked these calls for 15 minutes. I can't think of the last one that ended at 15 minutes.
Because people really want to let it hang out, don't they?
People say at 14 minutes, I say, listen, we're almost out of time, but I blocked, longer if you can go for longer. And they say, oftentimes people say, well, this is cathartic. Someone's listening. The company cares enough to have someone reach out to me and ask for my input. This is phenomenal. So I circle back with the client. I say, here's what I've discovered. This is based on what you told me you'd like to accomplish. This is what I'd like to do for the keynote. And they say, I love that. This doesn't apply. That, you'll step in it. Don't go there. This is great. Do this. Okay, good. So then I create this custom keynote. And oftentimes at the end, almost every single time, someone will come up to me and say, so how long have you worked here? Right? You just been here. Like, you get us. You're on staff, right? You're on...
Right.
No, I'm an external. What do you mean? This guy's an external? So, Kelly, the credibility thing comes from doing deep research and genuinely understanding what they're trying to achieve. And instead of telling them, you demonstrate that you understand them.
I think it's interesting, too, because what you are selling, and you're selling just like anybody who's selling anything, you're selling a product, you're selling an outcome, you're selling a set of results. And the product that they're ultimately going to experience is your keynote. And all of that information that you've gathered is how you actually turn around and make your product work for that company by building that connection. And I'll say this because Chris won't, but Chris told me one day, he goes, Kelly, we were talking about keynotes and what he does. And he says, well, I typically get standing ovations at the end of the keynote. And I'm like, get out of here. You do not. He's like, no, I really do. I guess send me one. So he did. He sent me a YouTube video of one of his keynotes. I'm not even a part of the company, and I was standing up and cheering at the end. I mean, it's not feel good nonsense. I mean, it's the kind of stuff where, Chris, you feel enormously inspired and so forth. And I've got to believe that that creates credibility for you with future prospects. As I like to say, the best marketing on the planet is do great work. When you do great work, that's got to be part of the package as well. True?
So funny about the credibility. I wasn't really planning on sharing this, but I make a spiral binder for every engagement. So this has got all my handwritten notes and all my research notes. I bought the $500 spiral machine maker. I put little tabs for each interview. It's got my handwritten notes in it. And I take this with me on the airplane. I'm studying it the night before. I'm studying it the next morning. I'm circling and drawing through this thing. And oftentimes the client will see it and they'll say, what is that? It says reward if found. I said, yeah, I need this is really important. I will pay a reward. I've never had to pay the reward. But the clients see this and they're like, it's got my run sheet, the run of show, the food and beverage contact, the AV folks, all the notes from all the people I've interviewed, the happy customer interviews, the upset customer interviews, the phenomenal VP sales, the sales winners. Chris, I've never seen anything like this from a speaker.
And do they ask you for your notes? Do they go, hey, can we get all that? Can we get the download on that?
Yes. And sometimes we do, and sometimes it's a larger engagement because it turns from a keynote into, a 6 or 12-month engagement to work with their team. Sure. And in one case recently, they just re-upped for their 37th month. So
wow,
we're doing, and it started with them seeing this depth of research, right? But going back to that credibility thing, if I phone a rando and say, please put me on your stage, honest, I'm real good, they'll say, respectfully, we can't take that kind of risk. But if their good friend or a peer in the industry says, hey, we hired this dude, you should see his 1-inch thick thingamajig that he prints based on all the interviews with all of his people. I've never seen anything like this. You should put him on your stage. Here's what happens. Every single engagement that I've done in the last 20 years, this is my 20th year doing it full time, it's because someone else transferred the credibility. It's not me saying, I'm good at this, I swear. It's just being good at it, and then someone else says, hey, we had this guy do this thing. I think you might want him on your stage.
Wow, that's fantastic. And by the way, folks, if you're looking for a world-class sales kickoff speaker, Chris is your guy, I promise you. Coming up next, we're going to talk about what Chris does after the sale, after he performs the keynote. Again, the selling starts all over again. Let's look at how you continue to build credibility after they've got your product or service. Stay with me. Because sometimes what I've learned is some of the best learning and development comes from other salespeople sharing their experiences in the field and saying, wait, how did you do that? And how did you pick that product versus this one? And how did you get to the decision maker? And what was the big challenge? And how did you figure that out? I mean, they get all kinds of great information if you'll just let them ask questions. You can create a standardized format for that. Welcome back, Sales Untraining. Chris Cummins, my guest, as we talk about the concept of credibility. And again, it's so critically important. If you're training your salespeople, instead of training them to lead with product, my sense is you should be training them to lead by building credibility with their audience. And that's a lot of prep on the front end, as you've heard Chris talk about. And obviously, Chris is selling himself. He is the product. But so oftentimes, Chris, in selling other products or services that are not you, one of the places where people tend to fall down or lag behind is they don't deliver well. I'm the company. I'm the face of the company. I've sold that customer on going with me. And then when it comes time to implement your product or service, I'm nowhere to be found, or I don't communicate well, or I don't follow through, or I don't prepare you. You do some really interesting things both before and after that ensure that the experience, even after the fact, is fantastic. Talk a little bit more about that.
A couple of things come to mind, Kelly. I think a lot of us in sales are really good at the pre-sale service, right? Like, hey, I got to line up the thing. We're going to do the thing. And so we serve before the sale and leading up to the sale. And as you said, not everyone's great at executing on the sale. But those who are, we had a great rollout or the thing worked really well. That's, I think, part of the journey. But the journey that I think a lot of salespeople miss is post-sale service.
Right.
And then even after the sale, like post-engagement service. So keeping in touch with the humans.
Yeah. Now let me pause you there, because there are some people going to go, oh, well, we do post-sale service. I mean, I got a whole service department, and I've got engineering and manufacturing people, and I got customer support. That's not what you're talking about. You're talking about as the salesperson actually being engaged. And I think that's a critical distinction.
Someone said the other day, I'm doing business with ABC, huge company. And I looked at them, I said, you're not. You're doing business with one person at ABC, huge company. It's not the company that decided to work with you. It's one person.
Right.
So what are you doing to reinforce that relationship with that person so that they want to continue doing business with you? And more importantly, they open more doors at the organization, right? And option one, after, okay, made the sale. Yeah, we got the post-sale service and our customer service doing what they need to do. I'm not going to make a cent, but I might just follow up with that person in 3 months and tell them that they came to mind and tell them how much I enjoyed that engagement. I have processes now for that. So when I'm preparing for a keynote, we'll have all these interviews. We line up with people. I have some automations that will send them a video saying, hey, here's what I'm looking for on that call. Please fill out this form. It's got a couple of questions. It then books the Zoom meeting, sends them a calendar invitation, all those automation-y things. Well, after the engagement, every person I interviewed gets an email that says, thank you. I really appreciated your time. It was awesome to connect with you. As my little way of, a little karma, give back, or just helping a friend, I'd love to chat. If there's something I can help you with as your buddy, just know I kind of feel indebted to you, not in a bad way, but I want to help you. Kelly, people respond, are you kidding me? No, I don't need anything right now, but that was great. Blah, blah, blah. Now we've taken it from like a business transactional thing, and there's a deeper human relationship now.
Sure.
That didn't exist.
And you even build in terms of your documentation up front, you even build in, hey, we're going to do a post product delivery follow up. We're going to have a conversation. I want to get some feedback, make sure I'm doing things. And I would say to people that if you're not taking the time to look somebody in the eye and say, thank you for trusting us, it's been an honor to work with you and help you, you're missing out on one of the more powerful human-to-human components.
And you nailed it, Kelly. After you've been paid, right? You've already been paid. You can just go.
Right.
It's fine. And so it doesn't matter if this guy vaporizes or not. He's already been paid, so it doesn't matter. No, here's where it really matters: when you show up anyway.
Right.
Right? So in our engagements, we always book a post-event debrief call. We've been paid for it. The engagement's over. There's really no real reason transactionally for us to interact anymore, but we do. And we have a follow-up call. Hey, what went well? What was tricky? What might we do differently? Here's some things I noticed that will up-level your event next time. You might consider this. I know some folks who could help with that. Whether you hire me or someone else is irrelevant. I just want you to have a phenomenal experience 1 year from now and 2 years from now when you do this again. You give so much value there that I'm writing a book called The Human Side of Business, and one of the chapters is all about it's referable behavior, man.
Right.
It's doing things that they end that Zoom call and they go, wow, this dude took care of us, and he's still taking care of us. We've already paid the guy, and he's still coming back to take care of us more. I need to tell others about this.
Sales leaders, let me contrast what you've heard from Chris with standard training practices. Okay, we're going to train you on the keynotes that we give. I'm going to use his product. The keynotes that we give, here we have 3 keynotes. Here's the key points in each one. I need you to know them frontwards and backwards. We're going to train. In fact, I want you to practice those keynotes over and over. Now, here's your prospect list. Go sell. So your salesperson then goes to them and says, let me tell you all about our keynotes. I know it forwards and backwards, done it 100 times. Here's the key points I'm going to deliver to your audience. Here's the benefit you're going to get. And everybody goes, hey, that's consultative selling because I did a little homework and then I told you how great our results are going to be, blah, blah, blah. I hope you can see the vast difference between the kind of preparation and work that Chris does to build that genuine credibility before, during, and after the sale, which is going to lead to more opportunities to do the same. Chris Cummins, my dear friend, good to have you on the show, my friend. Thanks for everything. It's Sales on Training. I'll see you next time.
Sales on Training is a production of Business Locker Room and Pod About It Productions. Music and editing by Doug Branson. To get more Kelly, visit bizlockerroom.com.